We're back with lesson 4 in Photoshop. This is part B. Make sure that your beach image is tucked up under the picture of the flower, and we're ready to continue on page 86. We're going to create another new layer. This one's going to have absolutely no artwork on it for right now, and we're going to use this layer to create realistic clouds in the sky by using a Photoshop filter. You want to select the background layer and now insert a new layer. That new layer is going to be the one we're going to work with. Double click on the name so that you can rename this clouds and enter. In the tools panel, click the foreground color swatch. Let's pick up some kind of a nice sky blue color, something lovely blue, bright, kind of a nice blue. You can go a little bluer than that. I think I'm a little too aqua. There we go. The color they've picked, you can use something similar to that, or you can select one of your own. And I think maybe I'll bump mine just a little bit. They've got a color one. I'm going to go similar to theirs, but I want to be a little bit different because you can. Now, my background color is orange. That's not going to work, so I do need to select that background and change that to white. It must be white or somewhere around white for this to work and have it look somewhat correct. So next we have this selected, and you're going to go to Filter, Render, and select Clouds. We can now save again. We can also add a layer to an image by dragging an image file from the desktop or from Bridge or out of Explorer, or if you're in a Mac, it would be on Finder. We're going to add another flower onto the postcard. You want to select the Photoshop copy layer to make that the active layer, because we want to have the image come in on top of it. We want you next to go to Explorer or Finder, and we want you to navigate to the folder that you downloaded. So I'm going to go off screen here so I can go to my File Explorer, and I want to be on my desktop where I have my Photoshop lessons, lesson 4, and we're going to pick up flower 2. And all you need to do with this is drag this, I'm going to just move this off to the side, onto the image. And it's located in your layer stack right above the pineapple copy. You're going to position the number 2 layer in, or flower 2 layer, in the lower corner of the postcard. So only about half of the image is going to be seen. So something similar to this, just about like that. And then click the commit button at the top. Now we're ready to create some text using the horizontal type tool. Places the text on its own layer. We're going to edit the text and apply a special effect. We want the Hawaii layer to be visible now. You're going to deselect layers. You can either go up to select, deselect layers, or you can click in the empty space at the bottom of your layers panel, and no layer is therefore selected. In the tools panel, pick up your horizontal type tool, and we want to choose window character. Yours might be open. If so, you want to select it. Otherwise, go to window and pick up character and make sure that that is displayed. We're going to select a serif font. So you can use your drop down and find something. They selected Birch Standard. You can pick up anything that you have that's got a serif on it. And because I'm going to use anything, the first one that I come up with, I'm going to take Matte Antique. You can use any other font, just adjust the settings accordingly. The font style should be regular or Roman, which is fine for what I'm using. We want a large font size, so we're going to do a 36-point font with a tracking number. Tracking is the spacing between the letters. I'm going to use 200. I might change it later. And in the color swatch, instead of the blue, We want a somewhat grassy green color, so you can use your sliders. You can pick a nice grassy green and just pick anything up in that area and say OK. We want to do the faux bold, so clicking down in the styles, faux bold, it is not an actual bold, it is a fake bold. If we actually wanted it, we would use this one, but we're going to let Photoshop make the changes, so make sure that you have that selected. We also want to use all caps, and we want, from the anti-aliasing, we want to select not sharp, but crisp. Click right below the letter H to put your insertion point and type in Island Paradise. Now, this is why you're going to have changes. If you triple click to select your text, you're going to change your tracking, because your tracking is making this very wide. The other text was much narrower, and so you may need to change your tracking down, and it's just simply going to be experimenting. And actually at this point 0 is actually still too wide. I may just take this and center it now underneath Hawaii so that it fits. And if you drag a little bit, you're going to be able to center that and make it directly under Hawaii. Next, we're going to apply a color gradient to the word Hawaii to make it more colorful. Our first step is to select the Hawaii layer and make it the active. I want you to right click on the thumbnail, or you can control click, and select pixels. You now get the marching ants around the lettering. In the tool panel, you're going to select your gradient tool. Now you need to go to the foreground color, and you're going to pick a bright orange. So let's drag down and find a lovely shade of orange, something very bright. Your background color should still be white. In your option bar, make sure that you have a linear gradient, which is this one right here. Click the arrow next to the gradient editor box to open the gradient picker. That's this one. And select foreground to background, which should be the default that had come up, and then just click outside to close that dialog box. Our selection is still active. Drag the gradient tool from the bottom to the top of the letters. If you want to be sure that you're dragging straight, hold down your Shift key and just click and drag. The gradient extends from the bottom with the orange to the top with the white. If you don't like the way it's come out, you can redrag. Change where you're going from solid orange to white simply by how long you drag, so you can control exactly how much of the gradient you're going to be looking at. If you want a sharp gradient in there, you can drag a very short amount and you have control over that gradient. So we want a little bit more than that, but it's up to you on how far you spread that gradient out. You want to deselect again, Control D or deselect, and save. You can enhance a layer by adding a shadow, a stroke, a satin sheen, or some other special effects from a whole collection of automated and editable text styles. These styles are very easy to apply, and they link directly to the layer you specify. They're non-destructive. You can edit them. You can remove them at any time. We're going to apply a copy of a layer style also to a different layer by dragging the effect onto the destination layer. We're going to add a drop shadow. We're going to work with Island Paradise, so we want to select the text layer first. And you can go up to the top and select layer, layer style, drop shadow, or you can come down to the bottom and click on add a layer style, and then select drop shadow. The drop shadow should be highlighted. you'll see a little bit because preview should be selected. We want to use global light, so make sure that's selected, and your blend mode should be multiply. The opacity should be at 75%, so you're going to need to make that change. Angle should be 78 degrees. Distance needs to be brought up to 5 pixels, and you can watch how everything changes as you're making these changes right down here. The spread is going to be 30%, and you can see how that literally spreads as you drag. And the size should be 10 pixels. I've gone too far. There we go. When you use global light, one master lighting angle is available for all the layers that use the shading. If you select a lighting angle in one of these effects, every other effect that uses global light inherits that same angle setting. Distance is the offset. Spread determines how gradually the shadow fades toward the edges. And size is how far the shadow extends. And we just say OK to it to accept it. The nested styles show up. It lists that there is an effect, and it lists the drop shadow. You can collapse them simply by clicking on the arrow next to the FX. We're going to drag these now onto the Hawaii layer. All we need to do is select the FX, and click and drag with your Alt key onto Hawaii, and you get the same effect. Oh, mine didn't carry. Hold on. I moved mine. That should add it. There we go. Worked. No. I just made a copy of that. Control Z. I want to select the effect and put that back. I'm moving it back and forth. Finally, you may need to practice. You may need to try a few times. If it didn't work the first time for me, don't be surprised if it doesn't work the first time for you. All you need to do is just keep trying, and you'll eventually get it. If you're not completely happy with the positioning of Island Paradise, you can grab that text and use your arrow keys to move it down a little bit and give that a little more space in there. Next, we're going to add a stroke to the text for Hawaii, so make sure that that is selected. Click on the Effects button at the bottom of the layer. Click on Stroke, which is going to bring the dialog box up. We have the same type of stroke like was added to our beach, and we don't want that same thing. So we need to make a few changes to this. We don't want quite as wide of a stroke on there. We're going to change that to a 4-pixel stroke. Position is not on the inside, but on the outside of the text. The blend mode should be normal. Our opacity 100%, and we're going to change our color to a green. Let's find something that goes well with what we've already done. Maybe try to find something fairly similar to your Island Paradise, or perhaps even a shade or two darker. And once you've gotten the color that you like, say OK to that, and OK to the layer style box.